To put it simply, what a way to cap off a pretty crazy 48 hours for your Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers, after dropping their season opener and having a bit of craziness yesterday with some FBI-related news and Coach Billups, there was a little bit of a dark cloud. They needed something big. They needed a victory. They needed something to latch on to. Thiago Splitter takes over as the acting head coach. The Golden State Warriors are coming to town. One of the best teams of the last decade plus. A team that has kind of been the thorn in your side if you are the Portland Trail Blazers. All eyes watching how the Blazers will react. Are they going to be down on themselves? Are they going to be, woe is me, as they're, we have the excuse to not perform well? None of that happened as the Blazers came out of the gate and just did not let off the gas, grabbing a 139-119 victory over the Golden State Warriors. Welcome into the fifth quarter. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt. If you want to join the conversation with us, head on over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, join the chat there. Of course, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. This was a phenomenal basketball game. Starters came out, took care of action. That's exactly what you want. Then the bench did what they needed to do. They did not let the Warriors get back into it. A lot of this came through the third quarter. They were going on some big runs. Toumani Camara hit back-to-back threes at one point to make it 97-80, and there was really no looking back after that. Guys like Chris Murray came up huge, played wonderfully. Jeremy Grant, another good game off of the bench. All in all, it was absolutely wonderful. I'm going to take a look at the box score, and I'm going to welcome in a guest to the show tonight. You guys know him. He is Brendan Slaughter. He's waiting in the wings. We're going to go through this box score, though, really quick. For your Golden State Warriors, yeah, I said your because there was more than a few Golden State Warriors fans, and they're probably listening on their way home. 119 points. Jonathan Kuminga, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 points for Draymond Green, 35 points for Stephen Curry, and he reminds you that he is still Stephen Curry. Off of the bench, they were led by 8 points from Brandon Pajemski. On the Blazers side of things, 8 players in double figures. They were led by Denny Avdia with 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. Much better than his 0 for 6 from beyond the arc last game. He was 4 of 6 tonight. 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals from Toumani Camara. 14 and 8 from Donovan Clingan. Shaedon Sharpe had 17 points. Drew Holiday. We need to talk about this man. He just goes out, and he has just been doing nothing. Did it during the preseason and did it now, doing nothing but having consistent basketball games. I know you wish you would have hit a couple more of those threes against the Timberwolves, but I will not complain when he goes out there and gets you 12 points, 11 assists, and 5 rebounds. He's flirting with those triple-doubles if he gets a couple more boards. 22 points for Jeremy Grant off of the bench, 13 for Chris Murray, 10 for Matisse Thybulle, and Young Hansen had 2, and it might have been the best dunk of the game because let me tell you what, the Moda Center crowd went absolutely bonkers when he dunked that basketball. You love to see it. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Jason, he was tweeting at me like I tell you guys every show, hit me up on social, Chris J. Burkhardt's the name, and then it's like crickets every single game. So shout out to Jason. He was tweeting at me. He didn't like the offensive movement early in the game, and then by the end of the game, the offense was looking quite all right. We'll get to those comments in the chat here in just a second, but I want to bring in Brendan now. I don't want him to sit there waiting like, okay, why did I stay extra? The thing is, as you mentioned, Brendan, it benefits you because you would probably still be trying to get out of the garage.
It's true. No, it's good to be here, Chris. Obviously, man, what a great game tonight. You talk about everything that you mentioned, the last 36 hours for this, what the Blazers have gone through, all the headlines, everything else, just to go out and go against the Golden State Warrior team that, let's be honest, for the last few years, Chris, it really had your number. And, you go out there and you not only win, you put on a show. And like I said, you had to survive a Steph Curry type performance. I mean, 7 threes, man, he's just turning back the clock. And
There is zero debate on who the greatest shooter of all time is, because even the greats that we talk about, I mean, Larry Bird's probably the one that's really close in that conversation, especially if you ask the old heads. Guys like myself grew up with Reggie Miller. Ray Allen is another all-time great shooter. Even Dame is an all-time great. But I don't know if any of them make a three-pointer look like a layup like Steph Curry does.
There were just a couple times, like when he's open, it's like, okay, he's not going to miss an open one. But there was, like, the time he got fouled tonight and still made the 4-point play, you're like, okay. And, again, I don't know it in front of me, Chris. He 37, 38 now, something like that for Steph, maybe 36. But, man, it's just, his game is going to continue to, go with the time. His shooter, he relies so much on his shooting. But on the flip side of it, man, what not to like from Portland tonight, Chris? I mean, I thought Denny was going to be in for a massive game with 20 points at the half. He only finishes with 26, but Tumani has a big second half. Jeremy Grant, second straight game with 20 points or more off the bench. There's a lot to like. I want to circle in. Chris Murray might have quietly had one of his better games as a Blazer tonight.
He was solid.
Yeah, the length. And, I was working the Golden State Warriors broadcast tonight, and if I had $1 for every time their play-by-play man tonight, Chris said, this Blazer team, their length, their athleticism, and we even, made a joke when we were talking about Terry Stotts and, seeing him there on Steve Kerr's staff, and I'm like, Terry's got to hear all this noise, all Mark Mason and everything, and be like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good defenders they got down there.
Yeah. All I got to say is Rip City is back, even if it's only for a day. And the proof in that is that in the YouTube chat, I just saw a Walt Williams reference. And if we're bringing out the Walt Williams references, Rip City is so back. Also, I don't know if anyone, maybe Bobby Jackson, Keith Van Horn is in that conversation too. I know these are names that are a little too
vague,
young
but I
for
got
you,
you.
a little too old for you.
But
I don't know. Like those, no one made those knee-high socks look better.
Oh,
let me tell you
clean.
what. Let me tell you what. But yes, this type of game. Jason says, "Hey, not an overreaction, brother. The only difference is we had better bigs in the '90s, and that is in reference to a chatter saying that this is some of the best ball he's seen since those early '90s teams." Hey, there is no such thing as an overreaction. After the last day or so, have fun with it. Jump on the bandwagon, enjoy it. Now, team ball is those teams in like the early 20-teens, 2014, 2015, those are pretty good team ball teams. I will contend that if you basically all the way to 2020, if you can make the Western Conference Finals without Farouk Aminu and Mo Harkless in your starting lineup, I think you're doing all right when it comes to team ball. Chemistry is a big thing. Those teams in the early 90s, though, they were just a little bit different. Those teams were filthy, balanced, right? And this team tonight, they aren't in that category. Let's not twist it here, but they played team ball tonight, and that is a very, very good first step in continuing to build what this team wants to build moving forward. Any single time you're going to look at a box score, which I have right here, look at that YouTube chat, and anytime you look at that and you look at the Blazers starters, which are right there, and you see all of them in double figures, and then you see multiple double figures off the bench, including 22 from Jeremy Grant, which is if he continues to fit into this role as a sixth man, good on him. He deserves a ton of credit. He has probably had his feet held to the fire more so than any player over the last 3 years, whatever, when it comes to the fans just wanting more or worrying about his contract and this and that. Last 2 games, he has been exactly what they need off the bench. And you look at how they do their rotations, like Young Hansen comes off the bench after Jeremy. Then they were bringing in Chris Murray, Blake Wesley. They need that punch in the second unit. They were running a little bit of the second unit with Denny and Jeremy out there at the same time. I think it's really fitting in his game. They don't need him to be the number one scorer every single night, but they do need him to kind of be a primary scorer for that second unit. It allows him to get the ball in his hand and thrive, and it doesn't take away from everybody else. It's fitting in so incredibly well. That was the good. The bad, I love him. I love DC. I know we all love DC. DC needs to, I think we said this early in his rookie year too, like when he realizes that he's one of the biggest players on the floor, then he's going to really start to turn heads, and he still sometimes doesn't play like he's the biggest player on the floor.
Right.
They were trying quite a bit tonight, Brendan, whether it was Jeremy Grant or Tumani Kamara, trying to lob the ball to him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to put it down. That is a situation. You are 7 feet tall. They lob that ball. You jump up with ferocity. You catch that thing. You throw it down. I know Blazer fans don't want to hear it because it is burned into our brains. But like the Kobe Bryant lob to Shaq, right?
Burkhardt went there.
I did go there.
But no, it's true.
But the reason I bring that up is because when Kobe Bryant threw that ball up and Shaq left the ground, there was zero doubt what the result was going to be. And anytime you threw a lob to a guy like Shaq, you knew that the rim was going to rattle. I want Donovan Clingan, who was the biggest guy on the floor tonight, to do that. When you lob the ball up, there's no reason anyone else should be getting that bad boy. I should be grabbing it. Throw it down, big man. Throw it down, as Bill Walton would say. That's what I want to see. That's one of my few negatives of the night.
Yeah, no, I think that's a spot-on analysis, Chris. I mean, there were a couple times that happened. The one kind of positive I will say about DC in those situations, while he always didn't, wasn't able to, slam it down or even go up straight up, there were a couple times he caught the ball with what looked like, from my vantage point, like an inch between him and the end line, and had great footwork to be able to sometimes get offensive rebounds even and kick back out. He's going to keep growing, keep learning, and obviously, you look at, tonight, he obviously didn't have to deal with Al Horford, which I think would have been more of a veteran presence in the post for Golden State. But when you're talking about like Draymond Green or Kuminga or, in this case, Quentin Post or Trace Jackson Davis, DC's just got an advantage there, and you could kind of see with his size how much he can be impactful. And when the Warriors went small, especially if he can stretch out and hit from 3-point line, I mean, there's a lot to like there. It is kind of interesting. I did find, Chris, and I'm curious your take on this. I felt like the Blazers and Thiago Splitter probably could have, and even Steve Kerr to an extent, probably emptied the benches a little earlier than they did, and I was surprised we only saw just a few garbage time minutes at the end from young Hansen. I would have liked to see a few more.
Yeah, I did look at Chad, because I was sitting next to him at one point, and I did say, okay, Thiago, let's call the dogs off a little bit. And then he ended up pulling the bench, and quite honestly, it was around the time that most coaches normally do anyway. And so, I guess you would have liked to see just a little bit more Young out there. But at the same time, I think it is game 2, so you want to try to get the normal guys kind of their normal complement of minutes as you're still trying to ramp up into your regular season shape. So I get it from both sides. But yeah, I thought the job from Thiago was great tonight. Now, I said it during the pregame show, if you happen to listen, that Again, you could go do something like you tonight where you play a good basketball game. If you win, it's even better, because for everything around the team over the last 24 hours, there's that moment where you come together in the locker room, you shower Thiago Splitter with water or Gatorade or what have you because he wins his first game, and you forget about everything else that's going on. Now, Thiago did mention in the post-game presser that, he got showered with some very, very cold water, as he said. But one of the things he said in that presser that stuck out to me that I absolutely love was, he was just asked about like the feeling of winning his first game as a coach. And he ended up saying that just to see their smiles, being his team, it was a good sensation. And then he reiterated a little bit later that it's not about me and how I feel. Seeing them smile was important to me. And I love that from him, because when what happened to Chauncey Billups yesterday happens to a team, it's gut-wrenching. Mm-hmm. Like, we can sit here and pick Chauncey apart all the time, but those guys, they play for their coach. Yeah. And they like their coach. And when this happens, you're like, okay, what do we do? Where do we go from here? It can be a little down. Thiago Splitter said pregame that yesterday at the press facility it was a pretty down feeling. So to see them smile meant a lot to him, because he knew that this game meant something, and it helped. So that I love. I love that just understanding of the moment from Thiago. I love that the Blazers were able to get the win. And then he mentioned about, once the ball was tipped off, they were all excited because the focus was just on basketball. Nothing else.
Right.
It was just about doing what they want to do, which is win ball games.
Yeah, I think just kind of going along with my own kind of personal experience with that, Chris, I saw it in the other team that I cover where Oregon State fired a head coach, and the first job from their interim was come in and make football fun again. Mm-hmm. And you think about, like, with what Thiago was just saying, how negative, right, with the last 24 hours. You're talking about, the cameras outside the practice facility, everything. Like I was, let me put it this way, Chris. You had to be living under a rock to not have this notification sent to your phone yesterday.
Yeah. It was
nutty, right? And I still couldn't even believe it. So all that to say, I think Thiago, and hey, when you got Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors coming to town, it's still Steph, it's still Draymond, there's still Steve Kerr, and it's if the Blazers weren't focused tonight, they could have lost, and that's
Absolutely.
where I got to give credit to Thiago because they're able to block out the noise and be like, hey, this is nutty, probably to say the PG word, but we got to go out there and just ball, and it seemed like tonight the Blazers just took care of business, went out and played, just played basketball, focused on basketball. They were having fun. I go back to what Chad was saying in the network postgame, dishing out the assists. It just looked like fun basketball out
They
there.
absolutely were dishing out the assists tonight. For you box score watchers, 30 assists from your Portland Trailblazers to just 22 from the Golden State Warriors. I mean, I'm not a box score guru here, but I feel like you gotta work hard to find games that the Golden State Warriors get beat in the assist category. That's a team that's been known on great ball movement, especially great off-ball movement, and finding their open shooters. So it's just a good day from the Blazers. Improved upon their 31% shooting last game from beyond the arc. Got that to 47%, 53% from the floor. And I thought today you really saw what Coach Billups had talked about in the offseason and what Coach Splitter talked about today before the game about how the identity of this team will be getting those rebounds and trying to push tempo, because it led to a lot of easy baskets at the rim, whether it be dunks or layups, things you love to see. If you want to join the conversation with us, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number, or you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and join the chat there as well. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to continue to talk about this game. What a game it was. Just a very, very perfect ending to a crazy few days here in Rip City. Chris Burkhardt here with you, joined by Brendan Slaughter. He's like, a chance to put a microphone on? Yeah, I'm going to come up there, and I will not fault him for it, because every single time Chad asks me to do it, I have the exact same reaction Brendan does. This is the fifth quarter, and it rolls on after the break here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, we can talk bad about all those chatters now. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Hey, what's up? No, we're on your. Say something again. Yeah, you're good. You're good. No, you're good. I don't have your. But no, I wanted to come talk to you guys. I was joking about, hey, let's talk about the chatters. See, commercial break. We're gonna come to you, Ryan. The split screen looks crazy with his arm out there. This is funny. It's not a split screen. The paint just stops right here. Look, Brendan and I can high five. Like we're right here. Like we are. This is not a split screen. It does totally look like I am sitting like in my own little.
We're in different locations too.
We are not. We are sitting next to each other. I love it. That is funny. Like that's kind of a cool split screen. Burke's arm is like can go wherever it wants. I'm a doofus. Well, it wouldn't have mattered if Brendan sat here, like I'm the dark shirt on the dark background. But that is so funny. Like I didn't even think about that till you said it. But like it totally does look like it's a perfect split screen almost. I love it. That is hilarious. Thank you for pointing that out. That is good. That is good. Anyway, we'll be back in just a few minutes. Hold tight. I just had to come back in during the break because that cracked me up. Thanks for the comment, Ryan. You guys are awesome. We'll be back in just a few seconds. Hey, hold on. We're almost back, Jason, but you can hear me. I love that you say that because I like to make sure we're engaging with you guys as much as possible. It warms my heart that you take the time to get in the chat and talk to us and watch our show, man. It's awesome. So thank you. Thank you. Welcome back into the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt here with you, joined by Brendan Slaughter. And there we go. Shacker, can you turn your mic off or something? Because I'm getting feedback. There we go. And you guys just got live on air producing. We talked to the chat in break, and then you get live on air producing on radio and YouTube. It's absolutely wonderful here. And Brendan knows. Brendan, shout out Brendan for those of you who haven't paid attention yet. Blazers wrap up weekly show to wrap up the week that was in the Blazers world. So he's dabbling in that. Obviously does stuff with Beaver's Edge too, so he knows what it's like to be on air. But there is nothing more distracting than hearing yourself in your ear, but on delay.
Yeah. I mean, it's broadcaster props, right? for those that wonder, but it's always enjoy getting to spend some time with you, Burkhardt.
Yeah, and shout out to the YouTube chat. Everyone's having a good time in there. Yeah, Jason was talking about how we engage with the YouTube chat, which is awesome. And then his comment here, he says, the Courtside Monday background for the commercial break reminds him of when Pat LaFerty and Steve Snapper Jones used to host that show. It is not lost upon me that some little random guy who grew up in the Portland area named Chris Burkhardt gets to host a show that was that used to be seated by some absolute Portland legends, which is pretty awesome. Like, if you grew up in Portland,
Courtside was
snapper was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up with Courtside. I mean, the other Courtside. The now defunct Talking Ball, all that good stuff, man.
But we're doing everything. And so Brendan's doing the wrap up, having some fun there. We'll get Courtside Monday, all of our content. We're trying to be a one-stop shop for Blazer content, and there's been plenty of it over the last few days. So make sure you're also following Sean Hyken over at the Rose Garden Report, getting all the latest. I'm sure he's going to have a good piece after this game. It was a great game. The Blazers took care of business, and they looked good doing it. And I think what stands out for me tonight, outside of all of the outside noise that they had to deal with, was the fact that they looked very similar to how they looked on Wednesday. Pace was good. Defense was great. Offense was better, so it helped them get out to the lead and get a win. But 2 games now you're starting to build upon that. So now you hit the road, and you know that there's going to be bumps in the season. It's a long season, but you would hope that the version of the Blazers you saw the last 2 games is the version you see moving forward, where it's picking people up 94 feet, switching, being in their bodies, making them work, and then getting downhill, running fast, getting those rebounds. You had mentioned, Brendan, that the Golden State Warriors broadcast was kind of raving about the way the Blazers were playing, their athleticism, their length, all that. Well, it's interesting that they mentioned that because 2 games ago, Anthony Edwards said, you're not going to walk into Portland and get an easy win anymore. This team is going to make you work. They're going to pick you up the entire court. They're going to switch. They're going to push you. They're going to make you sweat. And so it's 2 games in a row,
right.
2 really good teams, and kind of the same response.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would take Minnesota over Golden State right now simply for the fact that, Golden State is they're, I joked earlier, but they're up there. You're going to see games where, and particularly this one, when the Warriors run a back-to-back, where it's like, hey, these guys are in their mid to late 30s. They can't necessarily run up and down the court with these young Trailblazers for 4 quarters on a back-to-back situation. And there was one point, Chris, I want to say it was the 4th quarter, where Chris Murray or Toumani Camara got a steal, and it was off Steph Curry, and Steph Curry really didn't even get back. He just kind of like took a second and just kind of like, picked up his head and was jogging back. Blazers already scored. I believe it was a Chris Murray, layup. Scored so fast, and I just wonder, like, if dare I say it, Chris, I've been saying it for the last couple weeks, it's not correct to say this is not your father's Trailblazers anymore. You almost have to say this is not my older brother or older sister's Trailblazers anymore, because it wasn't really that long ago that Portland, in the Dame Lillard era, in the Terry Stotts era.
The Dame and Taylor Swift era? Where was your brain going?
Right. So in the Dame and Stotts era, it was all offense, right? All gas, kind of no brakes, so to speak. Now you see a complete identity shift in a team that honestly, in a way, reminds me of what the Toronto Raptors were for so long, where it's like their whole team is made up of 6'7" guys who can defend, shoot, just 3-and-D wings. And I have to say, I made the joke earlier. I bet you folks right now there was at least a moment tonight where Terry Stotts is like, wow. Like, I'm just saying, maybe I'm wrong, but you consider, I just don't think Portland ever had this kind of defensive potential when that whole era, I would argue. Maybe when Nurk was at his peak, but tough to say.
Well, you gotta remember early on those teams of 2014, 2015, Wes, Nick, LaMarcus, Rolo, those were good defensive ball clubs.
It's true.
Obviously, Nick was a great 3-and-D wing.
He was.
Wes was one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. So he had it, and he had it times where they were one of the better defensive teams in the league, but nothing like just the way this team is just making you work.
The depth,
and what I love about this too, if you paid attention, there was a couple times where Blake Wesley picked up a foul, but he was just hounding Jimmy Butler, and in the time between the refs picking up the ball and that, Toumani Camara is in his ear, just laughing. Like, you hear him laughing. Like, these guys are like, we're going to get in you. I don't even care if I get a foul, but, bro, I love the defense you're playing. And it's like that. They are making it that mentality. Blake Wesley's just a hustler on that end. So those are the little things that you like to see. In the YouTube chat, Han just says that the team is tenacious top to bottom, and tenacity is a great way to put it, man. It's just fun. It's fun to watch. I contended over last year and all that Tumani Kamara is the most fun I've watched a single player play defense since Wes Matthews.
Yeah.
And then you watch games like the last 2 nights, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get lost in watching Tumani play defense. I can get lost in watching Matisse Thybulle play defense. I can get lost in watching Drew Holiday play defense. Like I can get lost in watching Blake Wesley play defense.
I say Chris Murray at moments tonight.
He did have his moments. And like Blake Wesley's not as good as those other guys, but boy, howdy is he one of the just a hustler. The dude does not slow down on that side. And when you can get lost watching a guy play defense, it's pretty insane.
The other thing I just want to make note of too, Chris, that I thought was impressive, and you might have obviously seen it more than I did being here on Wednesday, seeing the breakneck pace with your own eyes rather even just watching like on TV. I think it's something where you almost have to see these Blazers in person to kind of see how quick and how much different the offense is wanting to move. And I have to say, like, just watching him, Blake Wesley might be one of the fastest guys in the NBA. Like, he just jumps out of the blocks when he starts heading down court. And I have to say again, it's a fun style of offense when they play like this.
It absolutely it is. It's definitely a fun style of offense when they play like that, and the defense leads to it. So yeah, you play like this, you're gonna win ball games. And the biggest thing for me is just the idea that this team's not an easy out. They are going to play like this every single night. They're going to bring the intensity. And they're going to bring it on both sides of the court. Tonight, you get the offensive game that you get, and that's a recipe for success. You're going to have nights like you had on Wednesday where the offense just didn't cut it, but the defense was still there. I mean, you can look at the box score and go, yeah, what are you talking about? The defense was still there. Golden State scored 119 points. A, it's Golden State.
Yep.
B, how many of those scoring possessions for the Trailblazers were blink and you miss it?
Right.
Quick
so
scores
fast.
and then get back on defense. And then I would say in that case, holding, air quotes, the Golden State Warriors to 120 points when you're pushing a super fast game, which tends to play into their strengths, at least it has for the last decade, until they became, the Olden State Warriors, as I heard you drop. Like, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Now, what they need to do moving forward is they need to build on this identity, but they need to still find out what they're going to be moving forward, because we do not know what the future is at that head coach position. Is it going to be Thiago Splitter? Is it going to be someone else? Does this entire thing get blown away and Chauncey comes back? Like, I don't know.
A lot of variables.
I don't know. I'm just throwing all the hypotheticals out there.
Right.
But for this moment in time, what they need is Thiago Splitter needs to work under the assumption that he's that guy. That way he commands that locker room and makes this his team. And I think that's going to be important. He was asked post-game, like, what do you do to make this a Thiago Splitter team? He's like, I don't know yet. We're still going to figure that one out. And so I think a Thiago Splitter team doesn't lose that defensive intensity, but finds way to be more creative on offense. I think that is something he can bring to this team. He's a good offensive mind. Go watch the Paris team that he coached. And once you end up finding your team identity and putting your stamp on it, you don't have to tear this thing down. Just rebuild around it to the pieces you want. And then I think you're in a real good spot.
Yeah, it's like Chris said, folks. This if anyone tells you they think they know what's going on with this whole situation, they don't, because it's going to get so much deeper and all that. But here in the interim, I want to see Thiago Splitter win. I love his, he's early on in his coaching career, Chris. But anybody who spends that much time as a player under Greg Popovich, I really like starters. Like, you want to talk about coaching trees. I don't know if Thiago, I didn't get a chance to look if he actually spent time with on Pop's staff or if he went straight over to Paris. But
He was in like Houston for a year
gotcha.
and then went over. So
yeah. So that all being said, you learn from Pop, then you get some key Euro basketball experience, and I think we've seen, right, some guys that have had success over in Europe and then come over here and get an NBA head coaching job. I'd like to see what his imprint is. And Chris, think about this. If you're Thiago Splitter, you have to think right now in this moment, like, holy bleep, like, this is my moment to make a name for myself and not give this team back.
Without a doubt.
Of course, we'll see what happens. But say he takes Portland to a, let's just say, 25-15 record, right, over the next 40 games or something like that, right? And I think, it would be intriguing, and I do like his basketball acumen. This is not like, respectfully, an interim coach in the same breath as like a Caleb Canales years ago.
Caleb Canales.
Right. And again, I love the guy, but I believe he was a video coordinator or whatever that was before he went up. Like Thiago was a coach of Paris. They were very successful, and I do think that if things broke and the team kind of respects what he brings, he could rally this group, Chris.
Yeah, I would say too, like look in situations, and granted, those are guys who kind of end up being really darn good coaches. But look at situations where a team did not change, but the coach did. The Raptors had a coach of the year in Dwayne Casey, let him go. They bring in Nick Nurse, and, of course, they get Kawhi Leonard, so I guess team did change a little bit, but they win a championship. The Golden State Warriors have Mark Jackson. The team's on the up. They have a falling out. They bring in Kerr. They create a dynasty. Sometimes just a little bit of juice can change the flavor.
One little match, all you need.
So, one little match. Absolutely. I like the way you put that. So, yeah, I like this. And if you've listened to my shows and all this stuff, you know that I have been a big fan of Thiago Splitter to the point that when they hired him, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is a solid move. This is a solid move. Great basketball mind. And I've said it to you guys too that like in my time when I used to work for NBC. And I was filming post-game stuff for the TV shows, I was always in the visiting locker room. And the San Antonio Spurs locker rooms were some of the most just intriguing times I had because every single interview, you were just talking to just a basketball genius, whether it was Pau or it was Thiago, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan. Heck, I think my very first, to put a date on my time here, my very first interview with an NBA player was at a game, at least, because my very first day on the job, my boss looked at me and goes, "Hey, want to go to Blazers practice?" I was like,
yes.
Yeah. So I went there, but my very first game was in the locker room. First NBA player I interviewed in a scrum was Patty Mills.
Oh,
Patty
okay.
Mills in the Spurs locker room.
Legend.
And gosh, those locker rooms, like Popovich was smart. Those players were smart.
Yeah.
Thiago comes from that tree.
I love it.
Yeah,
I really do.
And please do not think that this is me just puffing him up because of the situation. And good night, Jason. Thanks for tuning in. And no, I am too young to know your Portland wrestling reference, though I do know of Portland wrestling. Didn't grow up watching it. Attitude Era WWE for the win, though. But no, the thing is, with everything that goes down, like I'm not just hyping Thiago up because of the situation that's gone down over the last 24 hours. I was Thiago fan the minute he came to Portland. And this situation is 100%. I want to see this man take the ball and run with it because I think he's going to be a good basketball coach in this league. Sean Highkin talked about that there's plenty of chatter before this and before Portland even brought him in that Thiago Splitter was the type that would probably end up being an NBA head coach one day. And so maybe through some of the worst circumstances that you can think of.
Imaginable. I mean,
you might have just had something really special fall into your lap. We don't know. Maybe a year from now we're talking different, but I just want to ride this thing out because what I saw tonight was a good basketball team and a good basketball game as Portland picks up the 139-119 victory over the Golden State Warriors. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on the fifth quarter. When we come back, see if we have some audio. Go listen to Coach Splitter and hear what he had to say after the game, his first post-game presser as a head coach. And then we'll look ahead to what this road trip holds. A little stop in L.A. I wish I was on this trip, because if I was on this trip, a little Clipper Laker action. Granted, it's a back-to-back, but your boy would still be finding time to get to Disneyland. Let me tell you what. Get there when the gates open, leave midday, get back to Staples Center before the game. I know what's up. The days I didn't have tickets, Brendan, the days I couldn't get a ticket to Disneyland in L.A., I still took the drive down just to go to downtown Disney.
This guy, man. I mean, you are a Disney man. No, I'd probably be doing the same thing. High key.
I do enjoy Disney, but I also have 3 daughters at home.
Yeah,
and
this
if
is
you
true.
Gotcha. Hey, Christmas shopping.
A smart guy,
Christmas
right?
isn't for 2 months. Christmas shopping.
Smart guy right here.
All right, don't go anywhere. More fifth quarter coming up after the break here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right. All right, I was doing some producing with Shacker, but now I'll talk to you guys. You can turn your mic off. I hear myself. But no, Kirk, I'm sorry. Disneyland is not dead. That is an awesome spot. Need to get out there more. I love it. Let's turn these headphones down. Why? I don't want to hear all that stuff. There we go. Disneyland's awesome. Portland wrestling in the 70s and 80s. Loaded rosters. Roddy Piper. You guys remember... gosh, it was down there on Division. I remember, Kirk, because I would drive by it, because you'd have to go by it to get to my dad's meat market down there on 123rd and Division, the original steer. Go check it out. But like Piper's Pit Stop, it was like the little like auto mechanic shop that Piper owned, and the billboard was just a giant wood cutout of Roddy Piper just on the side of Division there. How that had to be like on like 100 and... Oh, God, I feel like that had to be like 165th or something like that. I don't think my mind's making that up, but that was fun. Also, Rousing Rat, you're an idiot. You're dumb. I don't like to call out my fans, but you're an idiot. Shout out, just so you know, the Rat over there. I only call him an idiot because he's a friend. But Spam is awesome. As an Islander, it's a staple of my diet. That and rice. I did not mean to leave you hanging on the fist bump. I didn't expect it. I was just trying to get away from your brother, okay? It was getting awkward. No, have you really, Kirk? That is awesome. You know what's really fun? Okay, Kirk, you know what's funny? What are the chances? I've never met you. Seen you on my chat. So what are the chances I've helped you? Because I did that. My very first job was working at the meat market before I got into sports. So I got hired at NBC in 2014. I was part-time, working part at the market, part at NBC. I think I got full-time around 2016 and haven't really worked at the market since. But from like 2005 to 2016, that was my summer job, my winter break job, always working at the meat shop. So it'd be kind of funny if, although I haven't met you before, if I had helped you at the meat market before. That would be hilarious. It's a good shop, man. My dad pours his heart and soul into that place. Gotta go support those mom and pop shops, my friend. Bailey says Scoot will be good off the bench. Scoot's gonna be fun. Thank you, Shacker. I got you, my friend. I'll shut up here in a second. We'll be back in about 20 seconds, so don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Chris Burkhardt here with you, breaking down this 139-119 victory for your Portland Trailblazers over the Golden State Warriors. If you want to join the conversation with us, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, get in on the chat there as well, where Bailey just commented that Scoot will be good off the bench. And you know what? Watching the game today, there are times with this team where the ball movement can stagnate just a little bit, where I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, I want to see Scoot in this game because he would be the answer to the ball movement problems. So, yeah, it's going to be nice when he comes back. All right, we have talked a lot about what Coach said, but let's hear from him now. Let's head to the Coach's Corner, hear what acting head coach Thiago Splitter said after this game.
Yeah, I think the guys play extremely hard the way we want to play. Against a great team like the Warriors. Of course, they coming from a back-to-back, which we knew, and we try to even, exaggerate our pace and play fast even after their makes. Just trying to push the whole game with short rotations and play the one we want to play, the way we want to play.
66-30 advantage points in the paint. Was getting to the basket part of that? Was the pace part of that ability to get to the basket?
Yeah. I mean, our goal is to get easy baskets. The more the driving layups, cutting layups, and we got that.
How does it feel for you to just lead this team to this victory, especially in context of everything that happened in the last 36 hours and being able to overcome that?
I'm still trying to understand what's going on, but I'm super proud of them, going through all this stuff and go there and perform. In that day, they are the guys that are running and shooting the ball, not us. So I'm impressed.
That being said, was there like a sense of relief once the ball tipped off and you guys could just focus on basketball?
100%. This is what we are, this is our job, and we want to play basketball. We want to talk about basketball. We want to talk about layups, 3-points, step backs, block shots, and etc. So we love to do that, and we believe we have the best job in the world. And we got to go there and do every night.
Were there any guys that had anything to say before the game or at halftime or anything like that with some leadership or wisdom with the rest of the team?
Not yet. I think, I addressed the team after the game and just congratulate them, and they got me all wet, so.
You got down?
Yeah. Just to see their smile, it was very a good sensation.
Was it water or Gatorade?
Very cold water.
Gatorade, though.
Thiago, is there a sense that a win like this, in light of everything you've been through, is there like healing that's involved in that? Kind of helps you guys move forward almost?
I hope so. I hope we move on and like I said, we focus on basketball and how to get this team playing better and consistently. We know we have to get better in many aspects of the game, but effort. I'm telling you guys, we're going to compete every night.
Thiago, how do you manage the 80 more of these now? How do you manage the basketball side of it as this story, whatever you want to call it, kind of progresses through the season? What do you kind of have in mind how you tackle that day in, day out?
Just like I tackle every basketball day in my life. We're going to get to watch film now. We're going to travel tomorrow to LA. And just go from there, day by day, game by game.
What would your reaction have been 48 hours ago if I would have told you that in 48 hours later you would be getting your first win as an NBA head coach?
Yeah, I didn't expect that for sure, but, just like I'm going to repeat, more than thinking about myself, I'm just happy to see a smile in my player's face.
Thiago, as this season progresses, in what ways will we see this become a reflection of you and your coaching style, more than the plan? You talked about the plan you guys came into the year with, but how will this become a Thiago Splitter team?
I don't know. Got to think about that one, and I got to, watch film and what can we do better and how can we play better offensively, defensively. Probably in 2 months, I got a better answer for you.
What about just you as a guy, in terms of how you want to coach players? Like, what should we expect from you?
Yeah, I like to give them confidence. I like to also demand, play hard. Those are the non-negotiables, but, I keep encouraging them and happy to see the guys playing well and doing their thing and, feeling those moments when they getting buckets after buckets. I love that.
And there you hear from Coach Splitter. And what can you say? I love that he likes to just hear them getting bucket after bucket. He talked about how seeing their smile was a great sensation. He reiterated that, said it again. And I think what I like about this post-game presser the most is it was about basketball, and it wasn't about him. I think during the pregame presser, which is obviously hard, it's mandated that he goes and talks to the media at that exact time before the game. It would have been anyone. It could have been Nate Bjorkgren. It could have been whoever they established as the head coach acting in the moment. And it was him, so he had to talk. There was no practice availability yesterday. He was asked some hard questions. He answered them to, the best he could. And really tried to keep the focus on basketball. And I think that is smart. I know that there's probably a good chunk of people that want more to chew on. But in that situation that he's put in, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know anything that's happened. I think they were all a little blindsided. His focus needs to be on basketball because, quite frankly, I don't know about you, Brendan, but when life for myself is getting hectic, when I get to come in and I get to do game day in the fifth quarter, and the YouTube chat's having fun, and people are calling in, and I'm just lost in hosting the show, I forget about all the other stuff throughout the day that was bogging me down.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be the same for Coach Splitter, and that is why he reiterates over and over, focusing on basketball, because when you can get into that thing that you love, which is the sport, the game, and just focus on that, you forget about all that other stuff that was bogging you down for the day.
Totally, and I think, it's just a great reflection of the coach that I think he can be. Like I said, going back, I think he's had some tremendous, role models in his, as he's building his coaching career up. And, to your point, Chris, obviously, these are professional athletes. They're paid millions of dollars. We saw millions of dollars get handed out this week in extensions, right? So millions and millions of dollars to play basketball. And, at the same token, they're still humans, just like us, and still people who can get frustrated with things, people who can get, down, or, all these things. And, I hate to say it, Chris, but, would it not be somewhat just human nature to kind of be like, oh, man, woe is me after what happened, to start after one game. And, again, the Blazers just buckled down. I think they embraced the mindset of their coach. There were a couple times early where Golden State was kind of able to, push back. But then really right before the half, that surge that they had, I don't really think, this game was really all that much in doubt as it kind of went on. Golden State, I think, got it to 9 a couple times. But overall, just impressed with kind of the front-to-finish nature of the win. And I think it's safe to say, Chris, just overall to finish your point, I think Thiago's got the respect of this locker room, and that's awesome to see early on.
Yeah, I also loved during this game plenty of times, whether it was Denny or Tease, he'd sub out, and he would right there. I saw him put his arm around Denny at one point and walk him over to the bench right in Tease's ear when he had him subbing out. So he's making sure he's doing the job, and I like that. So before we go, Brendan, I'll ask you first, and then I'll give out mine. But it is customary here on the fifth quarter. Who you going to give a game ball to, my friend?
I'm going to give it to Denny Avdia. I know he only had 6 points in the second half, but I think that burst that Denny had to, ultimately, I believe it was mostly the second quarter, to get up to 20 at the half, and that was a big deal. He had 4 threes at the half. and that really kind of helped Portland get that lead, that cushion, heading into halftime. And from there, obviously, only had 6 points the rest of the way. But I think that kind of kick-started everything. So I'm going to give it to Denny Abdi tonight.
Awesome.
Burkhardt.
I like that pick. I'm going to go with a pick that people might go, what? But I'm going to go with Chris Murray. I'm going to give him a game ball. 13 points. He was very, very active defensively, got a couple steals, didn't make a lot of mistakes. I watched him at one point. I looked over at Chad. I'm like, this has been a great run for Chris Murray in this game and a great stint. And he's the type of player that he's only going to play like he did tonight. What, he got 26 minutes, but he just needs to take advantage of them. And I absolutely love that he took advantage to him tonight. And I think an honorable mention, quite honestly, is pretty much everyone else. They all deserve a game ball. But Adley in the YouTube chat chimed in earlier, said Jeremy is the perfect sixth man. And Jeremy, that's 2 games in a row, just filling that role, playing it well, doesn't seem to be complaining. And I think it suits him well because, as I said earlier, when he plays more with the second unit, he kind of becomes their go-to scorer. Very still athletic, can play defense, do all the little things. Like, I think it's a role that fits him well. And as you can tell by the fact, he's 6 of 10 tonight, like he's still getting his shot distribution. And I said that I want him to be more of that fourth guy on the team. When you look at it tonight, Denny had 18 shots, Tumani had 13, Shaden Sharp 15, Drew 12, Jeremy Grant 10. So there he is with the 5th most shot attempts. The other night, I think he had the 3rd or 4th most. I think that's a sweet spot for him, and I like that a lot. Rousing Rat wants to give a game ball to Dwop. He did have a pretty awesome block late in that game, which anytime he gets up and gets a block, you get excited. And as the Ocean Man chimes in on the YouTube chat, winning is the cure. And you know what? I think it cured a little bit tonight because we were able to come and do this 5th quarter and focus on basketball. Thiago was able to do it, and I think that's a big thing.
And we got a cool split screen, Chris.
We do have a cool
just
screen.
gotta give it to it, man.
Yeah, shout out to Ryan in the chat. He's like, your split screen's kind of cool. I'm like, it's not a split screen. It's the wall. The paint ends there, and it's kind of funny. It made me laugh. But that is going to do it for the 5th quarter tonight. Once again, your Blazers grab a 139-119 victory over the Golden State Warriors. Their first of the season and their first of the Thiago Splitter era. And shout out to Kirk, who just corrected us. Yeah, we were wrong. Game ball definitely should have gone to Thiago Splitter. We were lost in the sauce for a second. Didn't even think about it. Shout out Thiago. Can't wait to see what happens down the road. Speaking of which, the Blazers will head to the airport tomorrow, fly down to Los Angeles. Their first road trip of the season, a 3-game trip, has them making a stop at the Intuit Dome to take on the Clippers. And then on Monday, they will be taking on the Los Angeles Lakers at Crypto.com, a.k.a. Staples Center. And they will end this road trip on Wednesday against the Utah Jazz. Tip-off on Sunday is at 6 p.m., which means I will have Blazers game day for you starting at 4 o'clock. Brendan? Anytime you're in here doing stats, you're welcome. Stay here, my friend, okay?
Always, anytime, buddy.
All right, Rip City, once again, your Trailblazers win 139-119 for Michael Shacker out there in the bowl, just ready to go home. For Brendan here, for the boss man Chad doing, and everyone else out there. Rip City, I'll talk to you on the next one. Hey, big shout out, YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for having some fun with me tonight, and I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. Have a good